Hello there, my very good friends. Andy here for WhatCulture Wrestling. Today we are predicting AEW All Out 2025. The show, of course, takes place this Saturday in Canada. It is an earlier start time than usual by about 5 hours or so. This is down to, of course, WWE holding WrestlePalooza on the same day. All Out was announced before that. Originally, the two shows were going to go head-to-head, but AEW adjusted, clearly trying to avoid that head-to-head collision that would have been caused by the WWE show's sudden scheduling. The rescheduling does create some issues with fans traveling in hotels, and you've booked flights and timings and all of this stuff, which are very fair concerns, and we have covered in the news previously. However, with the show looming now, we're just going to sit here, we're going to predict the matches, we're just going to go through the main card. There are 3 additional matches on the pre-show, this time around for a total of 13. We're just focused on the main card. We're going to start with what is probably going to be one of the most fan interaction heavy things of the whole weekend. That being, of course, Cope and Christian versus FTR. Are we still doing the Cope thing? I mean, look at the graphic. Adam Copeland. They've been calling him Adam all throughout the build. I don't know. Interesting thing to observe. But either way, look, it's in Canada. These guys are going to be absolute heroes, Cope and Christian. Even though Christian, in his role, is still kind of an asshole in all of this. Actually, his character work throughout this whole story has been very, very good. He hasn't just suddenly turned into a smiling good guy just because him and Cope are on the same side again. He's been gradually kind of easing his way there while still talking about people's fathers and still just being a total jerk and being the worst guy in the universe sometimes. It's a slow transition rather than a suddenly, hey, I'm happy now after being miserable for 3 years, all right, which wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. It's good work from Christian, who I think is, he's been one of the best AEW signings ever, if you ask me. But obviously they've been building for this for a while, since FTR turned on Cope, since they laid him out, since they put him out of action for a while earlier this year. And look, I thought Cope and Christian versus Luchasaurus, or Killswitch, and Kip Sabian the other month was really good fun. And I thought they nailed the character dynamic. Bit of a house show vibe, but I think this will be even better because FTR are one of, if not the best tag team in America. It's a tremendous bit of business across the board. If the show opens with Metalingus playing and the crowd singing along, I mean, that's just a great way to get people hooked immediately, isn't it? So as far as the result goes, I think that FTR probably take this, personally. I know we're in Canada, and I know a crowd-pleasing result to open the show would be a more traditional wrestling thing to do, but I think if FTR win this, you can build to a rematch later down the road as well, which I think these two teams have a few in them, honestly. It's a veritable dream match across generations. Who on earth thought when we were watching the Revival, right, breaking out like 10 years ago, who was sitting there going, hey, one day these guys are going to wrestle Edge and Christian, essentially? Not many people at all. So I think they should squeeze as much juice as they can out of this. I think a rematch, I don't know, 2 or 3 months down the line is something they could possibly do, and that's why I'm going with FTR via some kind of nasty cheating ways. Following that, we have an absolute chonker of a tag team title match here. 4-way ladder match. Brodito, of course, defending against all of these units. The Young Bucks, Jet Speed, and Josh Alexander, and Hechicero of the Don Callis family. Really excited to see what Hechicero does in a ladder match, actually. That man is a technical wizard and a bit of a powerhouse at the same time. Interesting environment for him. I'm sure he'll do something really cool and creative. Maybe put submissions on people around ladders and stuff. I can't wait to see that, actually. The other teams are a bit more of a natural fit. And Josh Alexander, he's a beast. In a ladder match environment, obviously very action-focused teams, the Young Bucks, Jet Speed, and Brodito as well, despite Brody being just a terrifying monster. So, look, this is going to be this is a compliment. This is going to be the spot fest of the night, right? This is where you're going to want to come if you want to get your sugar rushes. Your popcorn's going to be going... It's going to be crazy. That's the name of the game in ladder matches. Probably not the most psychologically heavy match on the card, but hey, look, you need a balance of things. Sometimes you want a sugar rush. Sometimes you want a match that makes you sit there and go, yes, very, very nice technicality you're showing there, Mr. Sabre Jr. Either way, across the board, you know what you're going to get, right? You know what you're going to get. And I'm sure these teams will go extremely hard to come out with some creative spots, some high-impact spots. some frills, some spills, all of that stuff. Don't know about the positioning here, by the way. This is in no specific card order, apart from maybe the opener, because I think Metalingus opening the show is the way to go. I think Bro Dido do retain here. I think that they're going to be the ones to pass the belts on to FTR at some point, so it's more natural if you have a babyface team in place. Jet Speed are baby faces as well, but I'd wait for them a little bit. I love Jet Speed. They're really good fun. What a pairing. And same with Bro Dido. Tony Khan has a knack of just finding these people who mesh really well. Bandido and Brody King and Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey. Who'd have thunk it? Not me anyway. That's why I'm not a wrestling promoter. Next. We got Mark Briscoe facing MJF in a tables and tax match. This is a particularly interesting one for me to think about because Mark Briscoe always strikes me as a guy whose push is kind of here. Like, it's good. He's on TV a lot, and everyone loves him and all this stuff, but his overness is here. And the push never quite matches the overness, if you get what I'm saying. It's something that's been the case for a while. I think he usually enters these big matches and loses. And he does a great job of them, and he stays over. And there's value in a role like that. So look, I'm not saying that Mark Briscoe is struggling by any metric. Guy's doing great. Loved him in AEW. And so do the fans. However, I think at some point he has to win one of these big matches, and I'm going to say that he's going to do it here, right? It's tables and tags. It's a dirty, nasty stipulation match. It's a great environment for MJF to be a total weasel, to stooge and beg off the whole time, to be as cowardly as possible when it comes to the plunder, and that gives you a great opportunity to have Mark Briscoe beat him in this environment. One thing I definitely try and avoid is the convolutions that we got in the recent MJF Hangman match with the ref bumps and the multiple running, like Mark Briscoe running down and being restrained and all that stuff. Let's keep this one as simple as possible, right? Let's tell a story within the confines of this match with no extra window dressing. We've already got a stipulation. We don't need much more shenaniganery. Shenaniganery? Okay, new words being invented. We don't need more shenanigans here on the predictions. I'm going Mark Briscoe. Sorry. It's probably not going to happen because he usually loses these matches. But I'm going with it. Damn it. Kazuchika Okada defends the unified squeaky chair. Good stuff. Kazuchika Okada defends... Stop doing that. Seriously, or I will hit you with a rainmaker. Okada defending the unified championship versus Mascara, Dorada, and Konosuke Takeshita. Another action fest right here. Considering the people involved, maybe not Okada at this stage in his career. Sometimes he do be taking it easy. But we've seen this Okada Takeshita tension build throughout recent months. They're obviously both in the Don Callis family. However, there's maybe a bit of simmering rivalry going on there. They don't look entirely sure of each other. They don't look entirely convinced of each other. They look a bit suspicious. They look a bit jealous, maybe. I think there's one sure thing in this match, and that is that Mascara Dorada is not winning. I think he's a great addition. He's a wonderful wrestler, and he's one of my favorites whenever I go away and watch a little bit of CMLL, as I do quite often. However, in this situation, Okada's winning. Okada is retaining. I think that might be the easiest way to keep that Takeshita rivalry going. Although, you could easily have Takeshita pin Mascara Dorada, win the belt, and then Okada going, hey, that's my belt, and then you could blow this whole thing up if you want to. I don't personally see Okada losing until we get to the Continental Classic. We don't know yet what we're going to do with this unified title when we get there, because traditionally the Continental Classic has been for the Continental title, which technically no longer exists as part of this one. So, interesting question to answer there later in the year, but I think Okada retains, and I think we're going to move on to the next match. Up next, we got probably the dirtiest promotional tactic that Tony Khan has ever pulled. I mean, you're going head-to-head, sort of, with WWE on this day. They've put their show against you, right? And then you bring in the biggest damn draw in the business, Riho. That's just dirty tactics. WWE doesn't have that advantage. Who have they got? John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Cody... Who are these people? They got no chance. Anyway, TBS titles on the line, obviously. Look, I like Riho. I'm just joking around. And she popped some numbers early in AEW's existence, so fair play. Here we go. So the first AEW Women's Champion versus the TBS Champion. I don't think Riho's winning this match. Mercedes is going over. That's my prediction, straight away. I don't think this is the spot. It hasn't really been a long enough time on the stove to change the title. I think when you have Mercedes lose this belt, you should make it more of a longer term thing where the title contender is built up over several months rather than just a few weeks, which has been the case here. So look, I'm sure they'll have a good match. Look, these two are both crazy ragdoll bumpers, right? They're going to do some crazy stuff to each other. Usually you'd want somebody like that to be in there with someone who's a bit bigger, a bit more powerful, maybe a Kris Statlander, somebody like that. But in this instance, I think that they're just going to go all out. They're going to work extremely hard. They've probably got some insane stuff planned. It's going to be a really good time across the board. I think that Riho has an insane amount of haters who probably never watched her wrestle, to be honest. People complain about her size. Mate, she's like half an inch shorter than AJ Lee. What are we doing here? It's nonsense. They're going to have a really good match. Mercedes is going to maintain and retain, and we will probably build to a title change somewhere else in Mercedes' future. Trios match is next. We got the Hurt Syndicate facing Ricochet and GOA. We had a really fun match actually on Dynamite last night as I record this between Bob Lashley and Toa Liona. I really enjoyed that. Probably my favorite Toa Liona match so far actually. He's doing good stuff. This is interesting because MVP is getting back in the ring. We know he doesn't compete often these days, but he's doing it here because he's got beef with Ricochet and Ricochet's boys. The Hurt Syndicate are now fully babyface. That was pretty much effectively clear on Dynamite, which is good because, I mean, I've been saying this since day one. I loved the Hurt Syndicate. I loved the Hurt Business in WWE before this. So I think they're just the coolest guys around and too cool personally for me to boo. I'm sorry, that's just how it goes. Also, crowds love singing "We Hurt People" when they come down and during the matches there's a high level of interaction. It's natural that they'd slip into a babyface role at some point, and we might as well do it now, especially because Ricochet is one of the most impossible to root for heels in all of wrestling. Another compliment. He's doing great character work. I think the Hurt Syndicate win here. This isn't due to any backstage rumors about not wanting to lose to people or whatever. I just think it makes the most natural sense within the story. And I think that they are destined to face FTR again. I think that there's plenty of the tag team title change recently was something that was done without the Hurt Syndicate being in the ring. So I think they're going to win. I think they go over. I think it'll be a fun match. Interesting that this trios match is on the card. We don't have trios titles on the card. Not on the main card anyway. It's a bit of a shame because those belts are always a fun thing, but they are present elsewhere. It's totally fine. Either way, Hurt Syndicate, they're winning this. And who would have thought that after 16 months out, the return of Eddie Kingston would be a call out on Collision answered on Instagram. Here we are. He's facing Big Bill. Look, so, I've been a bit critical of this move myself. I do understand that they wanted to announce the Eddie Kingston return in advance in order to try and create a bit of buzz and shift some tickets and stuff like that for the pay-per-view. And the AEW will have a much better idea of whether or not that was successful than I will, sitting on the news, obviously. And look, this is my favorite American wrestler. I love Big Bill too. Eddie's back. He's going to get a great pop. It's on the balance of things, it's good. I just wish it was a more of a surprise. I wish it was a true surprise. I think it would have been a bit more effective if for the past 4 or 5, 6 weeks, Big Bill had been calling people out. Open challenge. I'm Big Bill. I'm the baddest man. I'm the manliest man in this company. I'm going to kick some ass. Kicks some ass for 4 or 5 weeks, beats a bunch of people answering his open challenge, gets to the pay-per-view, bites off way more than he can chew. Here's Eddie Kingston with a surprise return. I think that would have been more fun. However, I do understand the business reasons for doing so. That's what you get. Balanced opinions, objectivity and subjectivity, fighting each other out. Interesting proposal was put to me by my very good friend and colleague Michael Sidgwick yesterday. What if Eddie Kingston comes back and loses? I think that's super interesting, right? You can do the whole story of him fighting his way back. Maybe he's come back a bit too soon. Maybe he's still hurting. Maybe he's not quite ready. Maybe he's not as sharp as he wants to be. And maybe he has to slowly claw his way back to the top rather than coming straight back in with a win over Big Bill, which would be the traditional wrestling booking thing to do. And that's why I'm picking my favourite wrestler, Eddie Kingston, to lose this match. Because I think that's a really interesting story, guys. You're all going to disagree. It's fine. Have it out. Let's go. I think that Eddie can do a lot in that kind of story where he's building sympathy by working his way back from a career-threatening injury. I think that's a good narrative, and if they're patient with it, and if they build it over 6 months to a year, it could have a massive payoff later down the line. That's what I'm going with. It's bold. It's a bit brave on the company's behalf, not just having the returning guy win, but we're sticking with it, even if I'm wrong. Up next, a four-way match for the AEW Women's World Championship. Toni Storm defending against Jamie Hayter, Thekla and Kris Statlander. My goodness, that is a talented group of wrestlers indeed. It's another one of these matches that really showcase the level of talent that there is now at the very top of this division. All four of these are tremendous wrestlers. Tekla's obviously a bit newer. She's not really had that big breakout match yet in AEW, but it will come. It will come. Statlander and Hayter, well established as two of the baddest women in the company, and Toni Storm is one of the most important wrestlers in AEW. She's made herself that. And if you've not watched her appearance on the Sandman podcast, it's on YouTube. You should check that out because it's extremely funny, really good. I think Toni retains here again, going for a lot of retentions here. It's just the smarter thing to do, I think. Like, same with Mercedes. If you want to do a title change for Toni, I would build something a little bit longer term. I would consider a Statlander or a Willow Nightingale for that spot. Personally, that's what I would go with. I wouldn't be massively surprised if they did a change. However, I think it's likelier that Toni retains here. All four of these women will have their time in the sun at some stage. Toni's having it right now. Hayter's been champion in the past. I think she will get it back at some stage. But I'm really looking forward to this. I think, like, starting with these four, if you were to sit out and fill a 12-woman Continental Classic bracket out right now, you could come up with some incredible matches on that. The division, it's full of talent now. There's no shortage of good and great and brilliant wrestlers anymore. These are four of the best. I think they're going to really show that at All Out. A coffin match next on the show. Darby Allin, Jon Moxley. This has been building for ages. Since before Darby went off to climb Everest, of course, he has been one of the main opponents of the Death Riders in that ongoing story. It's been building for like a year at this stage almost, and we're going to get some kind of payoff here at All Out in a coffin match, which is, of course, Darby Allin's signature match, and he rarely loses in this environment. I think he's going to go over. I think he's going to beat Jon Moxley. I think Jon Moxley is at the stage where he's putting these guys over. These Hangmans, these Darbys. Someday he'll probably do the same for Daniel Garcia. Not quite yet, now that he's under the wing of the Death Riders, of course. So I think that's going to be the outcome here. Look, Moxley has been tremendous in the way he has put Paige over in particular. He's turned a huge corner in the past couple of months as well. The way the Death Riders storyline started off, I think a lot of those criticisms were warranted, but they turned it around and it resulted in a very cathartic world title change when Moxley eventually lost the belt. And I certainly don't think anything in that storyline was ever as bad as the Devil was, for example. We have short memories in pro wrestling. Let's never forget those crimes that were committed against our eyeballs in 2023. Look, the Darby is going to do some insane things in this match, and Moxley is going to revel in doing them to him. I think that Moxley's getting in the coffin. I think that he's out of there for a while. Although I wouldn't be totally surprised if this was some kind of loss for Darby as well, and he comes back and he fights Moxley again. It's a very common way. Knock the hero down a peg before they rise back up. It's often a very effective way of generating sympathy and support. But in this case, I'm going for Darby Allin. Main event time. Fletcher challenging for the AEW World Championship against Hangman Adam Page in the probable main event for this show. Look, I don't think there are many people, apart from maybe Don Callis, who are sitting there at home right now thinking that the Hangman Page is going to... Kyle Fletcher is going to win this match. I think Hangman is defeating him. I think it'll go about 25-30 minutes, and I think it'll be very competitive, and I think it will do a lot to lift Kyle up and present him on a similar level to Hangman, but I think he should fall short, and I think it should come as a result of him doing something egotistical and arrogant and costing himself the chance to become AEW World Champion. I think they've done a good job of playing up this idea that Kyle has kind of like a fragile ego. They did that really well in the Ospreay cage match earlier this year, and I think they can continue that again. At some point, Kyle's going to be a massive, massive face in this company. I don't think that time is now. I think that he has just shown tremendous instincts as a heel in the way he plays to the crowd and the way he winds people up and the way instead of just doing move in the ring, he'll do move, and then he'll stop and he'll flex and he'll show off and he'll pose and he'll preen. It's like watching a wrestler from the 80s, just a cutting-edge, modern, very good-looking version of it. He's tremendous. He's doing a great job. I think it's too early for him to become AEW World Champion. I would would like to see him knock back a peg or two. I would like to see him live in this TNT title division for a while and elevate that belt in turn. I would like to see him explore all kinds of different rivalries with all kinds of different names before he becomes world champion. It's not happening on Saturday. I'm sorry, mate. I think you're great, but it's not happening for you on Saturday just yet. The time will come. It's just not now. I also think that they're probably going to go back to MJF versus Page at some point. So, you know, cash-ins, contracts, all of that stuff comes into play too, although it needs a week notice now, so it can't happen here, obviously. There we go. Those are my predictions for All Out. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you think I'm mental? It's all good. It's wrestling. If you think I'm mental, that's probably good because it means it's a bit more unpredictable, and we all like that a lot of the time. Sound off in the comment section below. If you want to see our predictions for WrestlePalooza, which is on the same day, that's on your screen right now. You can check those out. Have a whale of a time. I'll see you soon. Simon Miller will be here with Ups and Downs a bit late today. Bye.